little things like that, some little stage plays in New York. But everything always revolved around horror movies, like horror sci-fi stuff. And it must have just been because I was just such a nerdy fan that people were like, whoa, at a time when not many females were really into horror films, like, whoa, she loves these movies. Oh my God, we got to put her in them. And so when I got Tromeo, that was like my real first feature film, and I was auditioning to be an extra. Like I was just willing to be on that movie to do anything. And Lloyd Kaufman and James Gunn actually retweaked the part that was meant for a guy and gave it to me, and I played Peter, the bodyguard to the Capulet family, which is hilarious because, I was all of 90 pounds, wore these tiny little leather outfits. But I told them I knew Kung Fu, which I do not know Kung Fu. But I bullshitted my way because I thought that's the Hollywood way, you just lie.
That's awesome.
And I guess I was sort of right because I got the part. I did end up injuring an actor. Not my fault. It was a stunt gone wrong. But it was one of the greatest experiences I've ever had on a movie. There's nothing cooler than getting a job that you were anxious for, the tiniest speck of a part, and then getting a real character and getting to go to set every day. And regardless of how ridiculous and crazy Trauma is, they still run like a real factory. It's a real movie. To this day, I'll sign stuff at conventions, and people always want me to sign the Romeo and Juliet stuff. It's cool. It's pop culture, and it's, one of their best.
I have a signed copy of Romeo and Juliet from you myself.
Nice.
Let's go back to your life growing up here. What was your relationship with your folks like? Did they encourage this, trauma career? And, what did they do for a living?
My dad was an accountant, and my mother worked, as an assistant for stockbrokers, like Bear Stearns and Lazard and stuff like that. I don't know if they really cared. And it sounds like they were kind of shitty parents, which... Well, I think they were kind of shitty parents, and the fact that they didn't really care, it was like, I'm going to go make this movie, and it was like, oh, that's so great. Never was I questioned, what kind of movie or anything, so, I guess that tells you, why I'm, in therapy, right?
Actually, I watched all those movies with my mom, so I don't know if that's more crazy or less crazy.
That's why you need to be in therapy, too.
I probably should, actually.
No, I don't know. I don't know if my dad really cared. My mom kind of just got behind anything that I said I was going to do. I think really took that, I'm going to support my child in any which way, to a whole other extreme. I think there were moments where I was like, I probably could use a parent more than a friend, But she was around, man. She came to support at all the conventions. For the longest time, you could see every picture at, all the chillers in Manhattan, in New Jersey, rather, and my mother here in the background. It's still to this day, my father's gone, but my mother, gets on Facebook, and I don't know if she has Instagram, I think she does, but she'll get on Facebook and, repost stuff, anything that I do or my husband does. So she's certainly supportive of there in her weird, crazy way.
At what time did you know that acting was going to be more than a hobby to you, and you wanted to do it as a life career? Was there a defining moment?
I don't know if there was a defining moment where I was like, this is my job now. I think it became my job. It was, I made Tromeo and Juliet, and then Troma was awesome enough to be like, hey, we want you to come to conventions. Hey, we want you to do HTV. Hey, we want you to come to Cannes and help us sell these things. And I started getting more and more work. And as I got more work, it was just a no-brainer. This is what I do now. And I started becoming instead of Troma necessarily just asking me to come to conventions, conventions on their own would request me. And it just became a thing. So I was like, oh, crap, maybe I should start taking some classes. So I took some classes in New York, and it was mostly for, technique-based. I never wanted to be the idiot that didn't know terminology on a set. If somebody was like, back to one, and I'm like, what's that mean? I wanted to, seem like a professional. So I took classes in that, then just kind of kept working, man, and it became a job. Now, as I get less work as I'm older, it feels more like a hobby.
Yeah, speaking of, your herald is a scream queen. I asked Debbie Rochon the same thing. Some people enjoy that moniker. Other people find it offensive. I mean, what side of the coin do you enjoy being known as a scream queen?
I flip and flop on that nowadays because
it seems like everybody does. That's why I find it a very interesting question. I like to get everybody's take on it.
It's super interesting because when I was first coined that, and I say quote unquote coined that because when I started doing these conventions and movies and things, the scream queens that were making these films were Briggs Stevens and Monique Perrin and Monique Gabrielle and Julie Strain and Linnea Quigley and Debbie Rochon, right? Yep. And they were scream queens, and they were at these shows, and they were fucking gracious to their fans, and fans loved them and would line up. And I was like, oh my god, these were they were horror movie royalty, right? It was the Robert Englund and the Kane Hodder's and the Gunnar Hampsons, and then all the scream queens. There was really nobody in between. You didn't care as much about the final girl, in my opinion, right? And Jewel Shepard from Return of the Living Dead wrote an article, and she was like, new scream queen on the block, Tiffany Shepis, and I was like, oh my god, I made it.
How does that feel? I bet you that feels pretty good.
It was pretty awesome. I was 17 or 18 years old, and here it was one of the women that I admired at shows and had seen in tons of movies, was talking about me. Now, fast forward, 15 years or so, and with the rise of the conventions being, every weekend in every city from, Sandusky to Tucson, they started letting these girls come to shows that were I shot a movie in my dad's basement. I'm a scream queen. My name is Melinda, or whatever the fuck, right?
Yeah, I see lots of those still.
Yeah, self-proclaimed scream queens. And, I started to find myself on panels at these conventions where, I used to be on panels with, women I, super admired that I'd seen all their work. And now I'm on panels with some people that I'd, never heard of, never made a movie. Maybe they made a short.
Shot a movie on an iPhone, and they're on the same panel with you.
Yeah, if you made a short and it played fucking Sundance or, a huge, another huge... It's not to sound snobby about it, but it was, wow, scream queen. Oh, all right. So I guess the title's changed. So in that case, I'm kind of well, just call me an actor who's made horror movies.
Yeah, I think that makes more sense now. I mean, that seems more respectful. Anymore. It don't seem like those people paid their dues, though. I wonder if that's the disconnect. I mean, you've been through
it. Maybe that's it.
And it just seems like they kind of just just got in while the getting was good and took the easy way in. I mean, that is.
Possibly. I just feel that the term always, if you ask me the definition of it, it was always a woman who made a horror film that had a huge impact on the genre, like let's say a Jamie Lee, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or a woman who's made a lot, and I mean 50 plus horror films, has died every which way, has screamed every which way. Then that, so it's numbers or quality. Those are the only two ways, you could get in for me. It's getting into a gang. You got to be beaten or sexed in. It's you could be, you get it by, fucking holy shit, that was a great film, or holy shit, you've made a lot of movies. Those are the ways in.
Yeah,
and
I think that's the way it should be.
Don't see it.
Well, actually, I have a hard question for you now. Here, I'm gonna get them a little harder here now. I gave you the softball ones. Now here we go.
Oh my God, harder! We just talked about a movement. We've talked about political correctness.
Why, Tiffany? Are you implying that I'm a good interviewer? I don't want to lose my audience. Stop it. Okay, here it is. Has there ever been a time in your career where it's been easier to play a character than just be yourself?
Ever been a time in my career where it's easier to play a character?
Yeah, here's what I mean. Say you got some shit going on, and like maybe it's easier to just kind of lose yourself in a character and not be yourself at all. Like, or have you ever lost yourself in a character? You know, like where like case in point, I was talking the other day. You remember when Heath Ledger got like so deep into like the Joker when he was filming The Dark Knight that like it poisoned him almost to the point where I guess he died. I mean, I don't know if it was from that or from all the other bullshit going on, but I mean, almost something like that. Have you ever got so lost in a character where it's easier to just, you know, be a character than to come out and...
No.
No?
No, I'm a big, for myself, kind of a big believer in I just show up and act. And, you know,
you have a very solid, you know, you could be you and you're very solid. Well, I mean, that brings me to, how do you prepare for something like that?
First of all, I make horror films, so it's like, you know, to lose yourself too much in a fucking horror movie could be detrimental to yourself, to other people. Like, it's not an okay place
I never thought of that.
For method acting, you know. So for me, like, you know, yeah, is it hard occasionally, like, to muster up a ton of tears and like work yourself up to a place? Like, yeah, you have to go to dark places within your own psyche, right? I mean, and hopefully that doesn't stay with you like maybe it did with Heath Ledger, right?
How do you get into that zone though? Like, I'm not an actor. Like, how do you get to that point? Like, it just seems like a very difficult.
You hope that like what you have is written well enough that you can create the backstory for that character. So you're not necessarily thinking about my mom dying or this terrible thing happening to me. You're thinking about it for that character, which makes things easier and also easier to turn off. You know,
oh, I see.
You know, and it also depends, like, one, who's your director? Who are you acting against? Like, who are you acting for? Like, you know, speaking of Debbie Deshawn, I did a movie for her directorial debut, and there's a scene where I have this whole thing where I find out that my husband's dead. And what Debbie did, being an actor herself, she let me have the time I needed to get those shots right. Because I wanted it real and I wanted it raw. And apparently people really liked this particular part of the movie. But so it just has a lot of factors, man. It's like, is your scene partner good? Is your director willing to give you the tools and the help to make the fucking scene work? Is the editing going to be shit? Are you going to nail it and then they go, oh, it's out of focus? You know what I mean? Like, so there's like a lot of stuff that goes into it other than just like the actor preparing.
See, that's what I was looking for. I mean, I never thought that there... I guess there's so many different layers. I mean, even one little intricate layer can kind of just throw everything off, maybe, right?
Yeah, of course.
What do you do in the downtime? Like, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of downtime on a movie set. Like, what do you like to do the best, like, when you have downtime on a movie set?
Oh my God, it's changed so much over the years. Like, it used to be if I had downtime on set, I would like roam around and I would check out everybody else's job and like, oh, how do you do that? Oh, how does the camera work? Oh, how does this work? Oh, I love sound, right? And then it turned to, I'm going to prank everyone on set. Like, in my like late teens, it was all about like fucking with everybody.
What's the best prank you ever pulled off?
Oh, the best prank? Oh, I don't know if it was really a good prank, well, actually, it was a pretty fun prank, and this was actually just recently. We did a movie called Victor Crowley, which was...
I seen it. I thought it was excellent.
Thanks. Well, Brian Quinn, who is part of the Practical Jokers, plays my, like, boyfriendy kind of guy.
Yep.
And one of the actors, Perry Shen, who I worked with on a bunch of movies before, he's a super guy. He's super nice, and he brought everybody some candy on the first day. And for whatever reason, I decided to steal Brian's candy and, like, act like someone else stole it. And it was, like, a big deal. And then we started sending, like, ransom notes. And, like, I would, like, have all different crew members wearing almost, like terrorist, like, masks, like, holding the candy. And then I got, like, a few other actors in on it. And they wrote weird ransom notes. It was so stupid. Stupidest fucking prank of all time, but yet, like, it made my day every day.
That's hysterical.
Like, to know he didn't get the candy back, like, it's so stupid. So, yeah, so downtime, stupid shit like that, like, you know, or you sit on, you know, listening to stupid interviews like this.
Thanks, Tiff. Speaking of movies, movies in general, if someone was going to make a movie about your life, like, who would you pick to play them? Who do you think would be the most suitable?
To play myself?
Yes.
Oh, God. Gee.
Well, they'd have to be badass for one, because that's definitely one of your qualities.
Well, thanks. Well, I'm not Hispanic, but it'd be really dope to have Michelle Rodriguez play me.
Ooh, I could see her pulling that off.
Right?
Ooh, good choice. Good
I
choice.
think she would be great. Yeah, she would be great. People used to say I looked like Mila Kunis, but I don't know. She just does comedy stuff. I don't know. Have she ever done a horror movie?
Mila Kunis? I don't believe so. No.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess there's always a first. Maybe
there is. It'll be the Tiffany Shepis biopic.
There you go.
Sorry, Mila Kunis.
Moving right along. What would be your dream role, or have you already had your dream role?
Have I already had it? I want to do more comedy stuff. Like, I think there's such like a fine line between like the horror stuff and like silly comedies, which is why like those scary movie type things worked, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but those are only good for the first couple, and then they get redundant, you know.
For sure. I mean, that's pretty much anything, though. Yeah, I mean, look at most franchises.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I can't argue that.
But I'd love to do more comedy stuff. I think inherently a lot of the horror actors I know are very good at it, and it'd be fun to do. I like playing, and I've only ever played like little snippets of it, kind of like really bad moms, like alcoholic, kind of crazy, screw loose moms. I did it for a movie called Cyrus, and then, but it was just in some flashback scenes, and it was crazy and batshit and awful. It was a really bad mom. And then in a movie that's not out yet that I did for Mitch Altieri, who is half of the Butcher Brothers, called Starlight. And that one, I was supposed to play this terrible, awful mom, but then I started to play it a little, like, differently, where then you sort of like her. I was like, I don't know if I did this right.
She's a terrible mom with an endearing quality.
Yes, exactly. So I don't know. So I think a very, very, very bad, unlikable mom who somehow towards the end of the movie you get to like almost like the chick in the Florida Project, if you've seen that.
Huh. That's interesting. I didn't think you would pick something like that. That's cool. So do you think
different?
Yeah,
I mean, I've played like killers. I've played victims. It's like, give me something more interesting now. You know.
Do you feel like you're a strong role model for young women?
I think I'm a strong role model as a person. As far as the choice of movies I've made, probably not. But I mean, I at least try to. I mean, I have a teenage daughter that I feel I bring a decent amount of positivity to the picture for her. That, also, I mean, growing up making like these kind of movies so young, like it gives you a whole different perspective on like you really should, at least in my opinion, like have a childhood. Don't, for me, rushing into making these movies and sort of just growing up is tough. It's tough on people. I
think you answered my next question. I mean, would you recommend acting to your children if they were interested?
No. And it's funny because my husband and I had this kind of discussion argument the other day because I'm so. I feel like all I've ever done my whole life is this kind of like weird, like transient artistic life where it's like sort of gypsy-ish, and sometimes you're making a lot of money and sometimes you're making no money, and it's there's something super cool about that. But on the flip side, like I've always envied the guy who works at the bank, like
Solidarity,
like the solid, like you get 3 weeks paid vacation a year. The nurse, the school teacher. Like I've always really envied people that went to school, finished something, got a degree in something, and got a fucking job. And so I kind of I tell our kids all the time, like, oh no, you got to do this, you got to do something cool. Like recently our daughter was like, I want to be a chef, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, that's such a hard job. It's just like acting. It doesn't matter how good you are. Like, yeah, I like this whole thing. My husband's like, yo, you need to fucking relax. Like, you got to let them do what their passion is, or they'll hate you. And thankfully, the other day she goes, Mom, I changed my mind. I want to be a doctor. And I'm like, yeah,
You're like, fuck yeah, that's
terrible
awesome.
Yes, I'll take the debt.
Enough of that cake bullshit.
Yeah, the stupid cupcakes. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, but on the flip side, of course, like, you know, if my kids came to me and were like, my dream is to be this, like, what are you going to do, right? You know, you're going to tell them no, you're going to hate them. Like, no, you're going to.
Yeah, I'm sure my folks aren't sitting at home going. Yeah, I'm sure my folks aren't sitting at home going, "Wow, we're really proud of this dude that like builds and delivers furniture for a living and says terrible shit on the radio."
Dude, you know what, man? The grass is always greener, right? I mean, how many people do I run into daily that are like, "Oh, what do you do for work?" And like, you know, occasionally I'm like, kind of like embarrassed, like, "Oh, I make, you know, indie horror films." And like, oh my God, that's so amazing. Oh my God, and you get to travel and go to conventions. People pay you. Oh my God, that's the best job in the world. Holy crap, you get to make films. Like, oh my God, you've been on the Sci-Fi Channel. Like, you forget that, like, that's a dream to some people. You know, where me, I'm like, oh my God, you're a nurse's assistant? Holy shit. You're almost like a doctor.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Well, speaking of funny, what's a fun fact about Tiffany Shepis that we as fans may not know about you?
I am a certified licensed phlebotomist.
Get the fuck out of here. Are you serious?
I swear to God. So, part of my whole, like, acting's just a hobby now. Poor me, I don't get enough work. I was like, well, I'm not just going to fucking sit around. I'm going to take all types of classes and all types of shit. So I did. And I took a class in phlebotomy. I even drew blood on people at a hospital for 2 weeks straight, drew the most amount of vials anyone has ever drawn in their externship.
Oh, my God.
All the while speaking my terrible broken Spanish. And, yeah, I have a license and everything.
Well, see, now Michelle Rodriguez can play you in that movie if that's going on, you know?
That's right. She needs to become a fucking phlebotomist first.
Speak broken Spanish, take some blood. I mean, I see it. I can see it. I think we should put this together. Have you ever encountered old friends that resent your success? How do you treat it? Like, how do you handle them when you come across? Surely you've had to come across somebody, because I'm a Z-grade celebrity and I've come across people like that.
I mean, I don't really have many friends that aren't in the industry or like haven't known me the whole time I've been doing it, because I started so young. You know, I mean, I have a couple friends from high school that like I like literally bullshit with on Facebook here and there, you know, but no one that I know. You know, so most people are entertainment side, which because of that, everyone hates on each other. It is really a tough business, and that's another reason why, like, I kind of like try to stray my kids away from it, is because like jealousy, envy, it is fucking hard to control that shit. It is very hard to be gracious, and it is hard to be supportive of people in the times when you're kind of down and out, right?
Yeah, of course.
And I think that's for any business, but since like acting and filmmaking has such highs and lows, and you know, sometimes the lows go on for months, it's hard to not, like, look at other people, myself included, like, look at people going, what the fuck, why'd that bitch get that? She's not that good. Like, she's not that good, she's not charming, she doesn't have a good fucking resume, who's she having sex with? You know? So, if you know that you're guilty, yeah, like, if you know you're guilty of doing that yourself, then you have to understand why other people do it. You know what I mean? So, I think it's sadly, it's human nature. It's like, if you're not, I mean, now, if you're at your peak and you're doing great, it's very easy to be happy for other people's success.
Well, let me ask you this: being that you, it's different. Being that you have a spouse in the industry, is there any sort of competition between you guys sometimes, or do you sometimes get jealous of each other?
Certainly, there's no competition, because I mean, he's a writer and like producer, and he directs, and I act. Like, so it's not like, yeah, we're vying for the same jobs. But, you know, of course, it's just kind of how life works. Like, when he's really, really up, I don't have any jobs, you know, or vice versa. Mm-hmm. So it's difficult when you're not always at the same spot. you know, because you never just want to like live for somebody else's dream. You know, you want to have everybody succeed, right?
Oh yeah.
And so it's always a little touchy when it's like you're not both succeeding at the same moment. You know, you want to both have wins at the same time. It's like, you know, like your little kid, like, you know, hits a home run in baseball, you both can support that. One of you wins an Emmy and one of you wins, like, you know, the fucking B-movie award. I'm like, right.
Has there ever been any like negative effects from being an actress like on a relationship? Does it put like a heavy toll like when you're in a relationship with somebody and they're acting? I mean,
I think the movie industry has a toll, or probably any industry where you travel. You know, just being away from people is hard. They say like, you know, separation makes the heart grow fonder, that kind of thing, which is probably true for a day or two or something like that, right? Yeah. But if you're on location for a week or 2 weeks, you know, that's hard. You know, time changes and things like that. You know, my husband was shooting in Toronto for a good part of a couple years. And, you know, he'd be back for, you know, he'd be gone for 2 weeks and back. But sometimes you're on different time schedules where it's like I'm wanting to talk about my day and he's just, you know, going to bed from shooting, you know. And so you have those moments where you're like, God damn it! Say what you can talk to me.
How did you cats fall in love? Like, I love to hear a good love story.
Oh, it's funny, actually. It's a fucking hilarious love story. So, I made this terrible movie called Death Factory.
Hey, now, I'm actually a fan of Death Factory.
Of course you are. Well, I made your loving Death Factory. And it was a terrible film, but for whatever reason, it did very, very well for that company. And years later, they decided to make a sequel.
Yep.
Well, they hired this dude, Sean Tretta, to write and direct the sequel. And he was like, fine, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, but you have one thing. You have to get Tiffany Shepis to play the monster again. And he's like, what? No, I'm making this movie for like $3,000. Like, no. Like, she won't even do it. Like, I want my monster to be gross and ugly, not her. This, that, and the next thing. But he did his due diligence, and he called me, and he was correct. I turned it down. I was like, I'm not making your movie for $2. But I was like, oh my God, this guy actually sounds like he's going to make a great film. Like, that's fucking weird. Because generally you talk to some of these horror filmmakers and you're like, oh, what? What are you talking about? Like, but he sounded like he knew his shit. So fast forward, I don't make the movie, he makes the movie. Every review for the movie was like, oh my God, it's a far superior movie. Death Factory, Bloodlight, and the sequel's so good. But it should have had Tiffany Shepis. I was like, yes. So he was making a film called The Frankenstein Syndrome.
I actually have an autographed copy of that from you, and I find that to be a very excellent film.
Nice. Well, it was originally called The Prometheus Project. He was making this movie, and I knew the producers, and I was like, I want to play Dr. Elizabeth Barnes. And Sean Tretta said, no, I don't want to cast a scream queen. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean? So I kind of demanded he take a meeting with me. I gave my plea as to why I should play that part. Long story short, I'm in the movie. But he and I didn't talk pretty much the whole film.
Oh, yeah?
You know, I played my part, he directed, and then months later...
You were a stem cell doctor or something, I think, weren't you?
I was a stem cell researcher. And it was cool. It was one of my favorite parts I've ever played. Probably because it was so different so different from the general, like, scream queen, like, I'm running and I'm naked, which is also fun to play, but very, very different. Because, I mean, that's your ultimate goal with, like, these movies, right? It's like, no matter what, like, whether you're fighting a dude in the woods or you're, you know, in a fucking spaceship, doesn't matter. Like, your ultimate goal is to have people go, wow, this person can actually act, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so this gave me that opportunity, and I loved it. And so anyway, long story short, we ended up, you know, getting together and now we're married with kids, and we're boring.
You know what, though? Boring sometimes is very good. Like, I mean, I just got, I think I've probably partied enough for, like, 3 people. So, like, I mean, I kind of just recently settled down myself, and, it's nice.
Good.
Like, I kind of
you have to retire the old you sometimes to reinvent the better you.
I really did, and I have to say, like, I think it's a better choice. I mean, I'm way happy. Like, at the time, you don't think you're gonna be, like, happy if you do that, and then you do it, and you're like, wow, I should have did this a long time ago.
yeah, man. Like, you know, like if you can find someone that you don't hate, that you think is a cool friend, that, you know, you'd rather spend time with over any other friend, like, you've hit the jackpot.
Oh, I absolutely did. It took me 20 years to find that person, though, and 20 years of living hell and torment. But I mean, it was definitely worth the. I would go through all the aggravation again for sure. But enough about me.
And
I'm here to interview you.
Lines on Balls from the Ellwood.
Oh God, here we go. On the line, we have Tiffany Shepis.
Our next caller.
Do you have a question for Balls? Maybe you can interview me now. Because if not, I'm gonna hit you with some more. So I got questions all nighter.
Let's go.
Is there a part you regret taking in your body of work, and why?
Part I regret taking? Yeah, like 60 of them.
Oh wow! Like, what is the absolute worst? Like, what was the worst you've ever been treated on a movie set?
Oh. Fuck.
And let me talk all kinds of shit on these people and tell my audience what assholes.
Oh my God. Well, here, I'm going to have to look this up. Let me see. Let me see if I can remember a terrible situation on a movie. I mean, people generally treat me pretty good. Like, I've been fairly fortunate in those regards that people aren't often like jerks or anything like that where I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this, you know? Yeah, dude, I don't have one. Doesn't that suck?
Well, no, I mean, okay, well, let me ask you.
But there's definitely many, many, many movies that I made that I kind of threw my heart and soul into, and they didn't hold up their end of the bargain, either because the movie, everyone else in it was garbage, or the movie was just fucking stupid, or, you know, they shot it terribly and things were out of focus and it just looked like $3 trash. And it's like, you know what? I actually fucking showed up. I actually rehearsed and knew my lines and created a character, and you did this, you know? So that's always a real bummer. And there's so many of them that I actually don't even want to talk about their names because I don't want to give the people that are listening, oh, I have to watch that now, you know?
Oh, yeah, we definitely don't want to give those assholes any credit for sure.
But yeah, there's plenty. I mean,
I'll tell you a good Tiffany Shepis film that you guys could check out that's Ball's one of my personal favorites. Go and rent The Hazing Cats. The Hazing is an excellent film.
Yes, The Hazing is. Hazing's one of my favorite movies I've ever made. And it was kind of one of those horror films that sort of put me on like the horror movie fan map, because it was me and Brad Dourif, you know, who's amazing,
oh, yeah.
and Brooke Burke, who was from the E! Channel at the time, and that character. I mean, I was basically playing myself back then, you know, just kind of a smart ass, tough, crazy chick. And I love that movie. Like, it's a lot of fun. But I'm literally, right now I'm looking at my IMDb of 135 something movies, and
holy
I can
shit.
honestly tell you, maybe 20 of them do I actually really love. You know, the rest
are you serious?
Yeah, I'm trying to be a working actress. You know, it's like you try to be a working actress, means you don't want to wait tables, so you take all the garbage that gets sent your way, you know?
I mean, I can tell you from a viewer standpoint, though, like, I mean, some of these films that you see, they may be kind of a little substandard, but, like, you bring kind of a better, you almost kind of bring the whole movie up, like, tenfold.
Yeah, but you know what, and I thank you so much, but, like, that's not what I want to do anymore, you know what I mean? I don't want to just be, like, yeah, sure, being the best thing in a terrible movie is fine. I want to be a good thing in a fucking great movie.
Huh, yeah, that's definitely... Yeah, okay. I mean, point taken. I could see that. Oh, okay. Since you don't have a per se like, be all end all bad story about that. Surely, in this day and age of like every day where you get up and there's a different allegation against people. I mean, has anybody ever tried to, force you into something for, the furtherment of your career?
There was only one time. I mean, I'm sure there was, like, idiots that have made stupid advances that, I just don't even recall, like, the significance of. Because I'm female, dumb shit happens all the time because most dudes are fucking gross, right?
Yeah, I can agree.
You can agree with that, Mike, right?
Absolutely.
Most dudes are gross. But there was one time where it was a movie that I actually flew out from New York to LA, and I was like maybe 18 years old, and it was tomorrow you're going to come to the table read, and you're going to play like my girlfriend in the movie, and it was like the director and the producer, but it was like a couple $1 million budget, and I remember the director came to my hotel room and was like, I brought all these wardrobe choices. And I remember even at that age going, like, that's weird. Like, this isn't how it would usually go,
Yeah, that's very creepy.
He's like, why don't you try them on? And, like, even though, like, your gut's telling you, like, this isn't fucking normal. And even though I was a tough chick that would just be like, this isn't fucking normal, like, you still in the back of your head, like, well, maybe this is how Hollywood works, right? Like, not thinking he's going to try and fuck me. Like, just thinking, this is just weird, he'll just take a picture and send it, right? So, anyway, and so I was just like, well, I'll just try him on tomorrow, and then he's like, all right, well, I'll leave him here with you, and I'm going to go, and he tried to kiss me, and I was just like, whoa, dude, what are you doing? And he's like, what? And I was like, well, why do you want to kiss somebody that doesn't want to kiss you back? And he, like, stormed out of the room, and I remember...
He thought he was going to pull you just because, what a douche.
Yeah, but dude, the saddest part of this whole thing, like I waited there like the next morning when my call time was supposed to be there and my ride was supposed to show up and no one came.
And
I called production, I called all these motherfuckers, and so when all this like stuff started coming out, like I was never gonna I fucking long forgot about this douchebag, right? And his movie fucking bombed anyway, so it didn't matter.
Good.
But I looked him up and he died, and I was like, oh, cool. Like,
good. Fuck that guy. I'm glad he's dead.
Someone in my life, like, never have I like wished death on someone or anything but it was literally one of those. Like, I look up the dude, and I'm like, oh, he died.
Yes, you do like that Home Alone where he's like, yes.
Like, I don't have to out
you. Being that you've gotten to know me here a little bit over the past half hour, what's the weirdest thing a fan's ever done for you?
The weirdest thing they've done for me?
Yeah, or even requested of you, perhaps. I mean, hopefully it's not me like requesting karate chops when I see you. I mean, hopefully there's some weirder people out there.
Yeah, that's super fucking weird, man. The weirdest thing. You know what? I've never quite gotten the fascination with feet, and I know there's plenty of dudes out there that love them and chicks that love it. It's never been like a fetish I can grasp. Like, I can't wrap my head around it. But like there was a guy that would come to the Chiller conventions that you'd be standing there taking pictures with everybody, and like back in the day, Chiller, I would wear some really fucking crazy shit, like like basically bikinis, like to sign autographs in. It's just weird and bizarre, right? I would occasionally I'd look, I'm like, what the fuck is that? What the hell is that? And there'd be a dude on the floor where all the other dudes are standing up taking pictures, like, trying to get your butt and smile or whatever, right? Like, he's down there taking a picture of my feet.
Oh my god!
like, what are you doing? Like, psycho? Get out of here! Like, kick him away like a little rat, So I always thought that was a little strange. But I remember there was like a thing, like I would get fan mail, and the fan mail occasionally, and this was like more than one occasion from different guys, where they were requesting like videos, like self-made videos, which like I didn't do, but it was like of like you stepping on action figures.
What?
And I guess it's like a fetish about like Amazon women like crushing little men.
What?
Which is ironic because I'm pretty short for like I'm like only 5'3", like I'm not like a big giant tall woman. So. But yeah, like many requests of that, which another one I just couldn't wrap my fucking head around. Like, what?
I've never even
like,
heard of
you get
that
it.
before.
Like, you have
I'm
a
complete
boob
degenerate.
fetish, you have an ass fetish, like fetishes like that are normal. Like get like that. I'm just like, what? Like,
I can't come unless I see you step on G.I. Joe. Yeah, I don't get that, man. Like, I don't. Wow, that's a dark fantasy for sure. I mean, I don't know.
Weird,
speaking
right?
of, I'm glad you kind of segued into this, so now it's a little less, embarrassing for me to ask you this. Have you ever got aroused during a sex scene? Like, how can you not? Like, I'm not an actor,
No,
so like I can tell you.
that's fucking stupid.
Stupid?
Because you know what, dude? That's fucking stupid. There's cameras everywhere. 90% of the time you fucking hate the actor you're working with, or at least I do, because I generally just dislike most actors.
Have you ever fell in love with a co-star?
Fell in love with a co-star? No, I just told you I don't like actors very often.
You've never met one that you actually think is cool, though?
Oh, there's plenty I think are cool. I mean, look, fell in love, like, oh my god, I love that person. Sure, tons of times. Like, there's lots of actors that I think are awesome, that are friends of mine. I just generally, like, when I was single, like, actors were most often not the people I went for. Like, most often actors are really self-centered. We're generally self-centered. We're generally really emotional train wrecks. And so I was always like, why would I want to be around that? Why would I want to be around another me?
Why do you think that most people are like that are acting? I mean, what do you think the connection is? Like, why? That's very interesting that like they all kind of have the same quality.
I think you're able to wear all your emotions like on your sleeves. You're able to portray them. Like you have to be an emotional person. You have to be a little bit neurotic. You have to be a little bit of all the characters that you're going to play, right?
Yeah.
And then I think the kind of the sadness that comes from it isn't really. I mean, for some actors, it's probably no, I don't know who I am. All I do is play actors, right? I think most often it's, where's my next job? Why didn't people love that performance? Why am I getting old? You know what I mean? Like when so much surrounds the way you look and like your appearance on camera, and people do pick that apart on every level, like not just big celebrities. Like you hear it at conventions. Like, you know, I'll be sitting there and like, you know, people say, oh, you know, like whether it be about me or someone else, it's like, oh man, she used to be hot. Or
people
you know,
really
remember
do
when
that?
people do that to a lot of people, you know, and they like walk around, they see really shitty negative stuff about people, or oh man, like so and so was so hot back in the day, and like they're talking right to that woman, you know, or man.
That's so
and
fucked
it's like,
up.
It's pretty fucked up. But at the same time, they're like, but I love you, man. Like you're fucking great.
Oh wow, man! See, I'm glad I've been in like a fat, ugly dude my whole life. I just you don't ever have to deal with anybody saying you were, you know, good looking at one time.
Hilarious.
Okay, moving right along here. I got one for you that is actually very respectful. You'll like this one. What is the best gift anybody's ever given you?
Like, I mean, do you want me to be like sweet and sappy, like my children, or like a real gift?
I mean, you can do both if you want. Let's go. Okay, let's do the sweet and sappy one first. What is the best gift?
Sure, like, you know, like my family. My family is the fucking raddest gift anyone could ever give me. Like my family, my unit at home is pretty great. As far as materialistic gifts, you gave me a truck once. That was pretty dope.
Oh wow.
And a fan who turned into an amazing friend and is like now part of our family gave me my first iPad.
No shit.
And yeah, and his reasoning was that like I'm always like at the time like I would blog and like I would write a lot of articles for arrowinthehead.com and stuff like that. And I would always be like, I had to write this, you know, on my crappy laptop on a plane going to Idaho or wherever I was. and so he was like, here, now you have the brand newest technology.
Oh, cool.
And that was super awesome. And because of that, I was like, oh my God, I must repay this gift. Come to dinner with us. You know,
that's really cool.
Really? And now he's like I said, like part of our family, which a lot of my fans have become. Like you can ask many of my fans that like started out that way that like have my personal number because like here's the bottom line is like we're fans too, you know. And so it's like, oh shit, that was your favorite movie. Also, that was my favorite movie. Oh my God, you love Jaws too. Oh, you love this. Like there's like this camaraderie that goes beyond like weird fandom. So if you're not like a fucking weirdo who's trying to take pictures of my feet, there's a pretty good chance you'll drink at the bar with us, you know?
Well, I promise I will never take pictures of your feet. I have 100% solemn promise.
Oh, amazing.
Let me ask you this: what do you think is your most favorite obscure horror movie?
Favorite obscure horror film?
I'm talking things that nobody's ever heard of before, like Curse of the Blue Lights, stuff like that.
Scream for Help.
Ooh, yeah, that's a very good choice. Wow.
Have you heard of it?
I have.
Yes, Scream for Help, which oddly was written by Tom Holland.
I love Tom Holland,
directed
man.
by
Oh my God.
Michael Winner. Right? Directed by Michael Winner. Like, big people. But they all hate the movie. The movie's ridiculous. Like, super, like, stepfather shit. And it was shot in the town that I was born in.
Oh, that's awesome. I just recently met him not too long ago.
What's that?
I just recently met Tom Holland not too long ago.
He's awesome. Tom's great.
Super cool.
I don't think he ever talks about this movie. But
Ooh.
It is one of my, like, those guilty pleasures from my childhood that, like, we would watch all the time because it's so fucking stupid. Like, I'm not giving a spoiler away because this movie's so dumb. It doesn't matter. But, like, there's a part where the stepdad, like, kicks the mother down the stairs. And it's,
I barely remember that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did they used to play that on, like, Cinemax or HBO, like, late at night, too?
Probably.
I think I've seen it on
they
there.
did.
Yeah, that's
and there's, like, this ridiculous scene where, like, the teenage daughter is like, I lost my virginity to you. It could have been anyone, even the garbage man. You're like, what the fuck?
This can't get any crazier.
It's so bizarre.
Have you ever seen Psycho Cop 2?
Yes, I have. But oh my God, here, hold on. While we're talking about this movie, I just looked it up on IMDb. One of the quotes is, Janie goes, it's because you're still a virgin that you're so upset. And she goes, I'm upset because my stepfather just tried to kill my mother. And Josh goes, no shit. And she goes, I'm not kidding. Your father's over at our house investigating him right now.
What did she get?
Stupid.
Oh my God. This is way better than I could have ever imagined.
Yeah, okay, here's another one. Brenda, I have to pee. Squat and do it down there. The cops will find traces of urine. It won't add up, and we're supposed to have been murdered in our bed.
Well, thanks for making me laugh like a 7-year-old girl. I almost think you should do like a remake, like a reboot.
I should play all the parts too.
Yeah, I would totally watch it, I think. Speaking of, what are your feelings on reboots?
I mean, I think some of them turn out great. I think, like, the Chainsaw remake was amazing.
Yeah, I was.
I think, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I'll tell you what was not amazing. I was not a fan of the Nightmare on Elm Street remake at all.
No, nobody was.
I like Jackie or Haley though, but I mean, yeah, there's only, as everybody knows, there's only one, Robert Englund. So I mean, they could have put anybody in that role.
It's a hard position to fill. Robert Englund is Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody will ever have it any other way. I mean, I just think I'm being biased, but
no, but what remakes do is they bring light to the originals, and that's what they'll always do. I mean, I have younger half sisters, and like I said, I have a teenage daughter who probably like for instance, when the new Halloween comes out, if it wasn't for that, I mean, my daughter's different. I can't really talk about her. She knows what horror movies are, but let's say like my half sisters. They'd be like, oh my God, there's this new movie coming out, and it's called Halloween, and it's, like, super scary. And they would never know that it's a remake. They would never know that. Like, and so you have to be able to tell them, wow, now if you think that's scary, you should watch this. So it just kind of brings new light to something that Halloween's a bad example because Halloween will never be forgotten, but for some of these kind of lesser-known franchise movies like that may have just kind of been gone forever. Like, it'll bring new light to them, and next thing you know, then we'll have these fucking awesome Blu-ray releases with special editions. So I just don't think we're losing our original because there's remakes. It's still there.
Yeah, I agree. I think if anything, it should be a good stepping stone to wanting to go back and. When I was a kid, I mean, they had the video stores, and you go in and the best part about it was going in and finding that diamond in the rough, like chasing the dragon and finding all those cool flicks that you can tell your friends about. And I mean, I'm sort of hoping it kind of goes that way, where everything's digital now, and like you can kind of. It's kind of cool, like having to find movies online now, because I mean it's such a challenge. There's so much to choose from. So now when you find something like that, it's even more of a challenge, and you're like, holy cow, look what I found,
Sure.
But, before at the risk of talking your ear off all night, I'm going to wrap this up here so you can actually go about your everyday life. But I want to ask you one more thing. What would you consider to be your best performance?
Ooh, my best performance? Well, I did a movie called Bonnie and Clyde vs. Dracula.
I've seen it. I love it.
Silly title, super fun movie.
I thought it was good. That is
another one. Yeah, it's a fun movie. Another one where, I kind of got to play throughout the whole film, and I was really, really happy with what I did in it. Like, really happy. Like, one of those movies where it was like, when it would play at festivals, I'm like, please go see this. Please go see what I did. The same with the Frankenstein syndrome. Like, I was just really happy with what I was given to be able to do. And it all starts with the writing. Both of those scripts were a lot of fun. Both really well written. So if something's really well written, I could play it. Like, don't ask me to always create something for you, because then it's like, why am I doing your fucking job, right?
Yeah.
So, the Frankenstein syndrome, Bonnie and Clyde vs. Dracula, had, small stuff to do, in Hatchet, but really loved it. I don't know, it's just anytime I get to do something different, like I got to play a part on Sci-Fi's 12 Monkeys, and it was just in an episode or two, and I played a sergeant, and that was fun to do. It's just like anytime I could just do something like a little bit different, the better. I play a cop in a new movie coming out called Texas Cotton. So I don't know, probably all of those. Oh, I liked playing in The Violent Kind. I like to play crazy and possessed.
That was a cool flick, man. That was a pretty cool premise. I remember that one. But in close,
so,
is there any any words of wisdom you'd like to give people about the life of a quote unquote scream queen? And is there anything that you can you could tell us that you got coming up, or Sean's got coming up, you'd like to plug and promote? Because surely I would love to plug and promote everything you guys got coming out, man. Because I really love both you cats.
Aw, thank you. Words of wisdom, I have none. I guess don't become a cook.
What about a phlebotomist?
Become a phlebotomist. Especially Michelle Rodriguez. No, I have no words of wisdom. Do what you want to do. Live your life. Try to make good choices, and I guess don't write shit online and post pictures of crap you don't want everyone to see.
Well, that sounds.
That's what I tell my kids.
That sounds pretty intelligent.
Stuff coming out. I've got Starlight coming out, which is made by the same guys who did The Violent Kind of The Night Watchman.
Oh, cool.
Where I played that crazy mom that you end up kind of liking. So, give that one a shout when that comes out.
I will definitely.
Texas Cotton will come out this October as well. Not a horror film, but a lot of fun. New Temple and George Hardy from Troll 2.
Oh, what?
And yes, and it's a lot of fun. It's like a crazy kind of, almost like a whodunit sort of thing. We both play sort of buddy cops, and it's a good time. Killer Kate just got a news announcement. I play a psychopath that's trying to
I'm
kill
actually
Kate.
looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And that's getting like a little minor theatrical release. I think it comes out October 2nd. A few other things here and there coming around. Sean's got, he's writing for the new series The Mayans, which is the Sons of Anarchy spinoff.
Oh my God, that's awesome. I didn't know he was doing that.
Yes, and that premieres September 4th on FX.
I will have, you heard it, cats. Make sure you turn into that, because you won't be disappointed for sure.
Yes, yeah, I'm really excited to see it. Well, and that's it for us, man. And, for everyone else listening to Balls from Ellwood. I guess keep listening. I guess Mike is okay. I guess it's something to do when you have absolutely nothing else to do.
Yeah. I mean, even then, I'd probably go outside, or maybe take a walk, or maybe
take a walk.
Maybe go like play with Pogs, or maybe do a puzzle. But
you could do the catching of geocaching. You could do that.
Yeah, do that. Maybe Pokemon Go, but at the very least, if you're done with all those and you have nothing else to do, you could tune into my shitty show. But other than that, at least tune in long enough to hear this episode so you can hear Tiffany Shepis. And then after that, it's all downhill from there, so. But there you have it, folks. You know her. You love her. You've heard her. Thank you so much for being my guest. I can't thank you enough.
Thanks for having me.
And we're back, cats. It's now time for everybody's favorite part of the show this week. You know her. You love her. That's right, it's now time for X-Tina's Depravity Corner. X-Tina, what do you have for us this week in the ways of depravity? Tell us.
Hi there. I have an old story. Well, I say old story because I guess depending on how old you are, 1995 feels like a long time ago, but to me it just feels like maybe a handful of years ago, sadly. But so way back in 1995, there was this billionaire, I don't know if he was a billionaire, but he was surely a millionaire guy in Las Vegas. He was kind of an entrepreneur, or else he took over the family business. They ran a pawn shop and sold a lot of jewelry, and he did a lot of stuff on eBay. He made a lot of money. And he met this woman. This was Darren Mack, was his name, and he met this woman, Charla, and I guess Charla and Darren were like this super hot couple, and they were like really, I guess, good looking and, influential in the neighborhood, and, whatever. They built this fancy house, millions of dollars, and they ran this business together, and had a seemingly great life, and of course they did. They had millions, right? And they ended up having a kid, and I mean, it was just, completely magical. And then, things started getting a little weird. Turns out that old Charla and Darren were swingers, and they were pretty, active in the local Las Vegas swinger scene. But once she had a daughter, I guess, your mind sort of changes and you sort of feel a little less sexual once you have a kid, and you feel a little funny probably about swinging, I would imagine, and you want to probably put on more toward a family life. But the husband wasn't exactly thrilled about that. He wanted to continue to live his swinger-like life, and she went along with it, I guess, for a while, and then it got to the point where they were just fighting all the time, and, they just weren't happy, and I guess their 10-year marriage had started to come to a halt, so she filed for divorce. Well, when she filed for divorce, that's when things got ugly, and they went to court. And this woman had nothing. I mean, this is why girls, you got to think about this before you go gold digging and trying to find yourself a sugar daddy. You really got to think about this, because when things go south and you're left with nothing, you're going to be pretty screwed. So you got to have something to fall back on. And all she had was his business that was his, that she ultimately did help with, but ultimately it's his business and his work. So here she is living in this multi-million-dollar house, which of course he wants, and so they have to go to court and get a divorce and work out a custody agreement and all this. Now it is said that he did not want to give her a dime. He did not want to pay her any sort of alimony, any sort of child support, which, come on, that's ridiculous. I mean, she didn't do nothing wrong. Nobody cheated on anybody. She just wanted a divorce because she didn't want that lifestyle anymore. So, I don't know. It's kind of kooky. But, so, ultimately, his name was Judge Weller. he decided that that's ridiculous. You make so much money. He made something to the tune of like $45,000 a month. A month, people. So he didn't want to get. He wanted to give her $900 a month. $900 a month when this dude's making $45,000 a month, and the judge is like, you can afford to give her a little bit more than that, buddy. So he said, you can give her the $900 a month. He goes, but I'm gonna also make you give her $10,000 a month, and pay her out $1 million lump sum so she can get, a car and a house and all this stuff. So Judge Weller's the man, I'll tell you what. So, but not if you're the guy that has to pay out all this money. He was not a big fan of Mr. Judge Weller. So, what would any reasonable millionaire do when they are confronted with this situation? They will set up a sniper-style situation on top of a building and shoot Judge Weller in his office. Oh yeah, Darren effing crazy. Apparently Darren is an avid sharpshooter of some sort. And yeah, he went on top of some building. I don't know how he did it, but I didn't get all the great details here. But if you want to look into it, his name's Darren Mack. You can Google him. But yeah, he got up on this building and figured out where the judge's office was and shot the guy right in his office. Luckily for good old Judge Weller, he did not die. So guess who still has to pay this alimony and child support? So in, one of the, visitations or one of those like discussions you have with your exes when you're trying to work things out. And I guess Charla, the wife, went over to talk to him, and, things got heated and they were arguing and whatever. Well, ultimately, Darren stabbed her in the neck and killed her. So now, hey, he doesn't have to pay the child support anymore, but guess what, Darren? You're going to jail. Yeah. So, guys, I don't know what the lesson is here, but, don't marry a gold digger. And if you do, make sure you just pay them out and go on with your life. Because now, here's what's messed up, though. Okay, so now this poor, little girl, and then he has other kids from a previous marriage. Now they don't have a dad because he's in jail. Well, of course he's going to be in jail. The mom's gone. Now, grandparents have to raise the kid. Nobody thinks about all this stuff. But here's what gets me. So he got convicted of, I want to say second-degree murder, because they said that it was sort of self-defense because she was threatening him and she kicked him in the balls and this and that. So they said, okay, well, we'll give you a second-degree murder charge so you'll get less time. But he also got an attempted murder charge on the judge, and he got something like 40 years in prison with the option to have parole in 16 years. Think about that, people. You almost try to kill a judge, and you kill your wife, and you get 40 years, but if you're good in jail, you might get out in 16 years, and guess what? He'll probably do it again. There's a flashing news break, because these people are just, they're never going to learn. I don't know. So I know this isn't one of my craziest stories or anything like that, but I did find it interesting that this man attempted to kill a judge, and he still didn't get that much jail time, if you ask me. What are your thoughts on that, Balls?
Well, I beg to differ. I still think this one is, is pretty crazy. I mean, there's so much to digest, though. I mean, the thing I have to say is, there is always kind of that. This sounds like a really fucked up morality tale. Almost like a kid's fairy tale gone wrong. They got the world by the ass. They're millionaires. I think the moral of this story is you maybe not swing. I'd like to see what had happened to this story had they kept a monogamous relationship. Then they would just end up hating each other, and they'd probably still be together and alive and rich. But it's the weirdest part is whenever you get in that. It is funny. If both people were into that kind of thing, I always do wonder if one falters and decides that they aren't into that anymore, what could happen. So this is a good example of when people grow apart and their tastes change and they get older, I mean, this is the kind of thing that can happen. I mean, I don't particularly believe in that as a lifestyle. I think there's definitely always some sort of jealousy or some sort of bad repercussions that occur. Whether you say going in that you're cool with it, but over time, I mean, you still are involved and you still are in love with that particular person. And I would be disturbed if there was not any of that kind of like care, because if somebody wouldn't get upset that you're in a relationship and somebody else is in the mix, you don't really care about the person, I don't believe, because like you wouldn't have any sort of feeling of being in a triangle with somebody else, and it wouldn't bother you. Like if it doesn't bother you, that tells me you don't really care at all. You just want sex. So I mean, I don't know what it's like to be a swinger, nor do I. It's not my thing, my bag. I mean, but I just, it always seems to me like it never. I mean, I've known couples, very good couples, that I thought they were actually solid together when I worked at a certain place, and I've had friends, and I was like, oh wow, maybe I'm wrong, and like I see them many years later at a convenience store or whatnot, and I'm like, hey, how's so-and-so? Oh, it didn't work out, like we ended up getting divorced. So I mean, it always kind of seems to me like that's a recipe for trouble or disaster regardless. I mean, I could be wrong, but I mean, I don't know. It just seems like, I mean, if you want to have fun, I'm all for that. And if you want to have a three-way, I'm all for that. But it just doesn't seem like you should really get into the serious relationship in the mix on top of it is all. Like, if you want to have fun, have fun. Right, don't get fucking married,
Right, but once you get married, don't get married. Don't bring a child into the world, and you know what I mean, unless you plan on, like, being a solid family unit. I mean, at least that's my beliefs, and I believe that's Ball's as well.
My point exactly. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. People don't think of the damaging repercussions or the domino effect, like influence it has on others once your actions occur. That's all I'm trying to say. So, like, I think this is a very good example of that. And I mean, other than that, I mean, it's crazy. Like, everybody loses. It's like, this is one of them stories like where the bad guys win. Like in. When the bad guys win and everybody loses. So I mean, and I feel bad for the most part for the judge, because like this dude's just doing his job and he's taking a fucking bullet in the neck and he still lives. I mean, how many people still live after that? So I mean, yeah, it maybe not been the craziest one, but it's definitely well worth it. But I'm actually going to surprise you today, Xtina. I'm going to share, it's a very little quick thing, but I wanted to discuss with you, and it actually really disturbed me, and it definitely qualifies as depravity. I, as you know, have a mom, and I do, in fact, talk to her, and I was on the phone with my mom today, and she actually disturbed me with one of her stories, so I thought I'd share it with you. She was talking about, she heard some sort of, the news, where now they have ISIS camps, and they're actually teaching ISIS soldiers a learning lesson, like a class, and how to properly rape women. Like, I mean, how that is so ridiculous to me. Like, I mean, can you imagine being the worst rapist in like ISIS training camp? Could be like, oh, Ahmed, oh, you got this whole torture thing, right? But this whole sticking it in her pussy and raping her, you got to really work on what you're doing here. You need to more thrusting and screaming and clawing and hurting. Yes, less being sensitive and asking if she's okay. Okay, I mean, what are your thoughts on this here?
Yeah, it's a little bizarre. How does that go? Here, put this in her. Here, how about you tie her up with this? Yeah, no, not like that. Yeah, this is better. Yeah, do this. I don't know. This is so nuts. Who knows, man? Those people are so whacked. I can't even begin to put my head inside their head. It's just beyond me.
But anyway, I had to share that with you. It's been sticking in my mind all day, and it's definitely classifies under the depravity corner, but just such a fucking... It just illustrates what a crazy world we live in. But, I mean, that's really it for me. I mean, do you have anything else you want to share? Are we good for the week? You got anything else to say in close?
No, I think that's it, folks. Just watch out for your gold digging skills, and watch out for the gold diggers.
There you have it. That's Xtina, and Xtina's Depravity Corner. She will see you again next week, cats.